Hi, this is Melinda, and we are on Melinda's Spontaneous Smart Diva Show. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I did do what I promised you. I finished our American court system under the judicial system. So, therefore, next class we will be starting our third category under the judicial system. And so we'll just have the third and the fourth left. And then we'll start a new law class. But I will always put in some law rhetoric. I haven't lately because I really want to keep this all together right now. So let's get started. We take a sip of pop. Okay, good. Okay. So, the judicial system, the American court system. Okay. State Supreme Courts. This one's called State Supreme Courts. See, we're going to have a few, like, phrases to finish up the American court system. It's some more phrases. So this phrase is state Supreme Courts. Okay. The highest court in a state is usually called the Supreme Court, although in some states it's called the Court of Appeals. New York and Maryland. The Supreme Court of Appeals is West Virginia. Or the Supreme Judicial Court, Maine, the state of Maine, and Massachusetts. Okay. The Supreme Court The Supreme Court in most states is given supervisory control over an appellate jurisdiction for all other courts in the state judicial system, limited only by the Constitution and statutes. The Supreme Appellate Court draws its authority from the state constitution. Appeals to the Supreme Court from lower state courts may be either mandatory or required by law, or discretionary granted by the court, quote unquote. The court rules and or statutes will set forth the grounds on which either may be accomplished in a few states that do not have an intermediate appellate court. Appeals are made directly to the Supreme Appellate Court. States with an intermediate appellate court usually require that an appeal from a court of original jurisdiction go to the intermediate court, but in a very few cases, direct appeal to the Supreme Appellate Court may be allowed. My back's hurting a little bit. From working all day on my class. Okay. So, we want it more like this, not that, this. Okay. Intermediate court, but in very few cases, direct appeal to the Supreme Appellate Court may be allowed. In states with an intermediate appellate court, the Supreme Court may have complete control over these cases that it is willing to hear. Ordinarily, the state Supreme Court has very few areas of original jurisdiction. Okay, we have a new phrase we're starting with: intermediate appellate courts. Most states have intermediate courts of appeal. In most cases, the immediate appellate court was created to lessen the caseload of the Supreme Appellate Court. Okay. Okay. So, intermediate appellate courts ordinarily have initial appellate jurisdiction over the final judgments of a state's trial court of general jurisdiction. The jurisdiction of the Intermediate Court of Appeal may be established by statute, by rule of the Supreme Appellate Court, or both. Intermediate courts of appeal may exercise original jurisdiction when it's required for the complete determination of a case on review, and may issue certain writs, W-R-I-T-S, writs, when permitted by statute or court rule. Next phrase, trial courts of general jurisdiction. And we're still under the American court system. So below the Supreme and Intermediate Appellate Courts in the state judicial hierarchy, is the trial court of general jurisdiction. It may be called the circuit court, the superior court, the district court, the court of common pleas, or in New York, the Supreme Court. This court ordinarily has the authority to try both civil and criminal cases, except where the Constitution or a state has limited that jurisdiction. It's also normally empowered to try cases arising under both equity and common law. The circuit court usually has appellate jurisdiction and supervisory control over subordinate courts, except as provided by law, and it ordinarily possesses the power to issue extraordinary writs, W-R-I-T-S, writs. Okay. A basic rule to remember is that the circuit court has original jurisdiction in any matter unless that jurisdiction has been specifically placed in some other court by the state constitution or by statute. Circuit courts are geographically organized, with each circuit serving one or more counties. Each circuit may have one or more judges assigned to it, although each case is usually heard by a single judge. State courts of general jurisdiction are courts of record. This means that their acts, decisions, and proceedings are documented in a written record that is maintained by the clerk of the court. Records of court decisions and the processes that led to those decisions are important. Without such records, it's difficult to challenge a decision successfully in a higher court. Trial courts of limited jurisdiction. We're still under the American court system. So trial courts of limited jurisdiction, whether called, I got to bend down for 1 minute, my back, because I've been writing all day. Oh, okay. Okay, so there we are. Whether called municipal courts or district courts, or by some other name, most states have trial courts of limited jurisdiction. The jurisdiction of these courts may vary from matters of the type usually handled by the circuit court to lesser matters such as traffic offenses, minor criminal matters, ordinance violations, and probable cause hearings. These courts may also be given exclusive jurisdiction over common law claims up to a determined monetary limit. Determined monetary limit, such as $10,000 to $25,000. The jurisdiction of the court will ordinarily determine whether it is a court of record, and that in turn determines whether and to what court an appeal may be taken. The territorial authority of these courts is ordinarily determined whether it is a court of record, and that in turn determine whether and to what court an appeal may be taken. The territorial authority of these courts is ordinarily confined to the city or county in which the court is located. These courts may also have a small claims division. Cases heard in the small claims division are limited as to the amount that the court may award as damages. Lawyers are usually prohibited from representing litigants in small claims cases, and no juries and no appeals are permitted. Specialized courts of limited jurisdiction. That's another phrase we're going to study under the American court system still. And once again, it's specialized courts have limited jurisdiction. Specialized courts of limited jurisdiction include probate or surrogate courts, family courts, municipal courts, traffic courts, and in some instances, subordinate courts, variously designated as justice of the peace courts or magistrate courts. I put continued. Let me read that sentence again so you're not confused. So, subordinate courts variously designated as justice of the peace courts or magistrate courts. Okay. It looks better this way. Okay. Many states have separate probate or surrogate courts. The jurisdiction of such courts is limited in subject matter, but not by geographical or monetary restrictions. In some states, probate courts may be organized into districts, with a single court serving more than one county. The jurisdiction of the probate court is ordinarily limited to the settlement of estates, wills, and guardianship of minors and legally incompetent persons. In some states, the probate courts also have jurisdiction over juvenile delinquents, neglected children, dependents, the adoption of children, and other matters such as name changes. Appeals from probate court may be taken to the intermediate appellate court or to the trial court of general jurisdiction. Several states have either juvenile or family law courts. Juvenile courts, standing alone, will ordinarily have exclusive original jurisdiction over, wait, you like it this way or we liked it this way? Now I'm forgetting. No, you don't want it that way. You want it this way. Yeah, okay. So, ordinarily have exclusive original jurisdiction over all neglected, dependent, or delinquent children. Under a certain age, family law courts will have exclusive jurisdiction over divorce, separation, annulment, support actions, suits involving temporary custody of children, and adoption. In some cases, the functions of the juvenile and family law courts are combined, and the court has original jurisdiction over all of these matters. Many states have municipal courts with jurisdiction over a variety of matters. They may include civil cases involving claims below a monetary limit, traffic offenses, minor criminal matters, housing cases, and landlord and tenant disputes, and violations of city ordinances. Okay, some are authorized to handle preliminary matters in felony cases. Some states also have courts that deal exclusively with very specific types of legal matters. Housing courts deal with housing laws and disputes between landlords and tenants. Traffic courts handle motor vehicle and parking violations, and sometimes other minor infractions have local ordinances. Land courts of jurisdiction over questions relating to real property title registration, foreclosure, redemption of tax liens, and zoning matters. Okay. So we got one more part to this, which is real interesting because it was the one I was waiting for. I'm excited to learn about the American Indian tribal courts, okay? So here's what they say about American Indian tribal courts. It says, outside the structure of the federal and state courts are the Native American officially American Indian tribal courts. These courts function under their own structures, enabling statutes and court rules, and are limited only by the most fundamental concepts of U.S. constitutional law. In any divorce case in a state court, if any of the children of the marriage are American Indian, the state court must surrender jurisdiction regarding issues of custody and visitation to a tribal court for decision. Similarly, a state court cannot exercise jurisdiction over an American Indian child with regard to adoption or other issues determinative of the child's familial status. Tribal courts also adjudicate matters arising on or concerning tribal lands, such as hunting and fishing rights, oil and gas rights, development rights, and rights of ownership and rental. Some of these rights may be granted by treaties with the federal government. Contracts with American Indian tribes may require that disputes or enforcement be brought before tribal courts. In recent years, American Indian tribes have become increasingly engaged in gambling enterprises as a way of generating needed revenues for their communities, and cases involving gambling debts owed by non-Native Americans. may be adjudicated in tribal courts. Similarly, criminal cases arising from violation of tribal laws may be adjudicated in tribal courts. That's it. Now, but I don't know why it said, 1 second. I don't know why it said that the Indians are just, I don't know why they were just saying that the Indians, okay, I gotta fix my hair. Here, let me take a sip of my pop before it goes flat. I don't know why they said that Native Indians were just recently starting to make more money to pay, have money for their communities. I don't care where they come from that, because I've heard for decades and decades that they always owned the, I used to hang at the Lake of the Torches on an Indian reservation. I had a townhouse in Minocqua, Wisconsin. And that's where I worked at a resort that Liz Taylor used to stay at. Of course, 100 years ago, before my time. But they had pictures of her all over the resort. And it was, I can't even remember the name of the resort, because at the time, I was physically addicted to alcohol. But I was working at a resort, I can't remember the name, in Minocqua, Wisconsin, way up by the Canadian border. And so we would go to gamble in the Lake of the Torches. But see what made it so much fun, because I don't have the money to hang out in a gambling casino, but they had buckets where you could get quarters or buckets of dimes or buckets of nickels or buckets of pennies. They even had penny machines. But I could get, a whole bucket full of quarters, and they let you play on those quarter machines. If you go anywhere else, they don't do that kind of stuff. No. I mean, me and my mom went here in Elgin to the boat, and I put a $20 bill in, and poof, it was gone, and I didn't get to pull or push a button. Now, like one time, and then it was gone. And my mom was right on a machine behind me, in front of me. And I said, "Hey, Mom, let's get out of here." I just put a $20 bill in there, and I got to push like one button one time, and that was it. I said, "Forget this." And she's like, "Me too. I had the same problem." Up at the Lake of the Torches, they changed it right before I was moving back to Chicago. They quit. I think they quit the pennies, or they quit the quarters. Maybe they quit all the. I'm not sure. But the whole time I lived there, we could play all night long, and the quarters even last a long time. They keep going and going. Yeah, and you could win money from those quarter machines. Yeah, we had a lot of fun. I don't know if I ever won much money from the penny, nickels, or dimes. But I think I won a little bit quarters. The main thing was I kept being able to play for hours, on buckets of quarters. So I was having a ball. I mean, I was having as much fun, as the guy over there, who's a millionaire, and he's throwing, $100 bills at a time. I'm having just as much fun as he is. So we had a ball, yeah. So I don't know why they're saying just recently Indians to pay for their communities. They've been doing that for decades and decades and decades. So I don't know why they're saying recently. Yeah, I'm lost on that. I might, if I get ambitious tomorrow, I might research that. and see what the hell they're talking about. So how y'all doing anyway? This is Monday night. So I guess maybe a lot of you are tired. Maybe you're not on YouTube right now or Twitter. Well, let's see. In Chicago, it's late at night. But I don't know what time it is. I don't know, maybe 10? Oh, that cold pop tastes good. I'm going to eat a pizza puff, they call it. But I wanted that cold can of pop right now. I was going to drink a coffee, but I said, no, it'll melt my lipstick. That's what happened to me in New York when I went to see Boy George and Moulin Rouge, a 10 Tony award-winning play, for my birthday last March 13th. A year ago, March 13th, I went right on my birthday. But not for my birthday. I went to Boy George's play in Broadway at the Al Hirschfeld Theater in New York. I stayed at the Hyatt Grand Central, the best place you could stay. I was within walking distance to Central Park, and I was in walking distance. Wait, which way looks better here? I'm trying not to, I don't want to look fat. I was in walking distance Central Park, so I got a photo shoot there, got a little walk through there into the woods. I got a photo shoot of Fifth Avenue where all the most famous rich people shop. One of my favorite stores that I shop, just shopped a week or two ago, was Zara's. I never knew my store Zara's was at on Fifth Avenue in New York. Fifth Avenue for a century, it probably has been for the rich and the famous to shop. So I had a ball. That was fun. What got me over talking about that? Because there was a reason. And now I can't remember. See, I told you, you never know what you're going to get when you're with Melinda on Melinda's show, Melinda's Spontaneous Smart Diva show. You never know what you're going to get. It's like a box of chocolates. I forgot what got me going on New York. There was a reason. Anyway, I had a ball there. I got, photo shoots of everything. I found Jimmy Fallon's show and took pictures of that. And Radio City, I got pictures of that. The NBC studio, which is where I think it was Jimmy Fallon. Yeah, he was on 6th Avenue. Yeah. But I could run everywhere. I could walk faster, or run faster than a taxi cab to get to Central Park. They sit in traffic. And my hotel guy says, oh, it's $30. And I said, forget it. I go, how many blocks is it? He goes, 14 blocks. Well, I'm forgetting I'm a Chicago marathon runner. I've got 2 metal necklaces on ribbons from running 2 Chicago marathons before the COVID. So I did 13 miles in 3 hours, each time I did it. And I hit that finish line just in time of that 3 hours. But I'm going to be much faster. I'm going for much faster than that. I want to really bite the bullet. So, anyway, how y'all doing? Okay, well, maybe I should stop so that I can upload this without having to wait all night. So, I did keep my promise. We are done with the American court system. So, I got the book right there. We got the third one. But I don't know if I can go through all this. Let's see if I can do this real quick. I can't think of what the third one is. I'll tell you real quick. Come on. I'll tell you real quick what's coming up next. Okay, so our next subject will be, you gotta, okay. Oh, and I got something I could, oh boy, there's two of those things. Okay, where are we at? My Lord, how far back do we gotta go here? Okay, so the four classifications for the judicial system is classifications of law. We did already. The American court system, we just finished just now. And so next we're going to get court and law enforcement personnel. Court and law enforcement personnel. And then lastly, court procedures. But I don't think they're that long too much. Okay, so we will start with court and law enforcement and personnel next time I see you. So since it's Monday night, I'm going to let you go, and we'll see you next time. Good night.